don't forget. All right. All right, everybody. So we're slowly letting people come in before we get started. Just a little housekeeping. We are recording this session, so if you aren't able to stay the entire time, we will be loading this onto our YouTube channel in the next day or two, and we'll email that link out to everybody. So if you need to pop off for class or anything like that, feel free to leave when, or stay as long as you can and leave when you need to. All right. But we're really excited to have everybody joining us today. If you want to throw in chat, I know Katie always likes to know who we have joining us today. So if you want to throw in chat your school that you're with or program that you're with, just to give us an idea of who we have in the room today. Yeah, we're all in Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area. We have a horrible storm blowing through. So if any of us freeze or we get disconnected, just know the storm is kind of affecting all of our internet connections right now. Oh, we got all over. We got East Coast, West Coast, we got Midwest. Anybody have really lovely weather?
We got a blizzard going on right now.
Oh no! Okay, you keep the snow. Oh, we got 60. Okay, I'll take 60 and sunny any day. Absolutely.
Oh, so
67?
Well, Monday it was 80.
And now you got a blizzard.
Yeah, I'll be back up in the 60s tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. How much snow are they saying you're going to get?
Oh, they were saying up to 6 inches, but we had thunderstorms last night with rain. Then it started sleeting this morning, and it's turned over to snow. And the winds are as high as 70 miles an hour.
Oh my goodness.
where are you located?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, okay. I was like to say, it sounds like Northwest Indiana, but I didn't know it wasn't because it's not blizzarding here yet.
Oh.
Now,
All right.
Gary, what school or university are you with in Omaha?
Metro Community College.
Okay. I grew up in north central Iowa, but my significant other's from Sioux City, so we have to drive through Omaha every time we try to go home. Just curious.
Yeah, you get to navigate the bridges of Council Bluffs.
Oh, it's kind of cool though. Oh, Diane, you're born in Sioux City. We don't get up there much anymore because it's about a 10-hour drive now. We have little kids, but I love visiting Sioux City.
I say it's a great place to be from. I'd hate to live there.
I asked my husband one time, I'm like, would you want to ever move back there? He said, no.
Yeah, it does get a bit cool up there. But they just redid the interstate I-80 and I-29 interchange there, and when you're going east, there's a bridge. It's probably maybe 2 stories high, but the lane's pretty wide. But last July we went to Frisco, Texas, and the ramp getting off of I-35 onto the tollway, the Rayburn Tollway. It's a narrow single lane ramp, and it's about 5 to 6 stories high.
Oh, wow. I think I'd be clutching my pearls. Wow. All right. So I think, what do you guys think? Should we go ahead and get started? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. So as you know, we're going to be leading a little cybersecurity credit transfer agreement development workshop. So no matter where you're at in the process, if you're brand new, you jumped into a new role and you're just trying to figure out what the heck is going on with credit transfer agreements, or maybe you're deep into it and you're just trying to finalize that MOU and you just want to, see what everybody else is doing or get a little feedback. That's kind of what our our workshop is set up for today. So it's kind of meet you wherever you're at, and hopefully we can answer any questions that you might have or give some guidance. So we've got an awesome group of people joining me today. So I'm Amber Schuler. I'm the program manager here at Purdue University Northwest in our Center for Cybersecurity. And I have 3 colleagues who are joining me today to do the workshop. My first colleague is Michael Spalchero. He is our academic engagement specialist in the Center for Cybersecurity. Mike was a former middle school teacher. So any former teachers out here in the group? He is also a veteran. He was in the U.S. Army, and he is helping to lead a number of our credit transfer agreement tasks today. So Mike is joining us to help present. And then we have the 2 lovely ladies, Katie and Rachel, who are joining us from the Office of Partnerships and Outreach at Purdue Northwest. Their office name changed, so I had to make sure I have the right one. Katie's official title is Coordinator of Academics and Accreditation, and Rachel is a coordinator of students and school partnerships. Both ladies have a lot of experience working with our K-12 schools, developing these credit transfer agreements, and they're going to come in today and offer all their tips and tricks to help get us started. So that's our team for today and who is going to be presenting. And then we also have our grant PI, Dr. Two. Dr. Two is joining us as well. I don't know if he's going to, no, he's not going to come off camera, but he is the lead for our grant today. And he's also joining us and supporting us through all of this workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and deep dive into why we should be developing a K-12 cybersecurity credit transfer agreement. So that's a question that most people have as they're coming into this workshop. Why should I be developing this agreement? And I like to highlight 3 different research projects that really sum it up. And some of you may have already been familiar with this about the very first one that last year, the White House Office of the National Cyber Director had put out a K-12 initiative, and they had a really strong interest in gathering information about which of us have K-12 agreements. You may remember that email that went out from Lynn Clark, who's now retired, but she had sent out that email last year trying to collect all that data from the CAE schools, and they wanted to find out about concurrent enrollment, credit transfer, articulation agreements, and they wanted to share all of this information nationally. So that was an initiative back in 2024 that the U.S. government was working on. And so something that was identified through another research project, some of you may remember this research project, that early college cybersecurity credit, also known as the E3C report. And they had also found that the U.S. has a high need for college education and cybersecurity. However, college enrollment in our cyber programs and graduation rates as well are low. And this does not help with the high workforce need that the U.S. currently has. And one of the outcomes that their study had found was offering cybersecurity early college credit opportunities to help expand that quantity and quality of our student pool in high school, and hopefully getting them to go on and pursue our 2-year and 4-year degrees. And then lastly, last year, in 2024, the State of the Future U.S. Workforce Report also identified a shortage. They were saying that there's a 75% exposure gap for students in computers and technology, and they were specifically looking at student aptitude in the field versus student interest. And they had found that there was a lack of exposure and insufficient representation of students in underrepresented groups in computers and technology. The report had also highlighted a solution of offering personalized pathways and course offerings in high school to encourage students to pursue post-secondary education and training in the field. So this is why we have developed today's workshop. So ultimately, our hope is that by developing these credit transfer agreements, that we will be increasing the quality and number of high school students coming into our 2-year and 4-year degree programs. And this will help to address that need across the board for the workforce issue, that the not having enough people qualified to fill these jobs, that they don't have that background in order to fulfill these jobs. And hopefully, by having these credit transfer agreements and increasing our recruitment and collaboration, that we can really be champions for in our community about promoting this kind of education and being that lead. Being an example for the rest of the schools who aren't CAE schools, but being an example of that. And so, but ultimately, we want to create these collaboration community opportunities across CA schools and K12 schools. And that's why we're hoping anybody who participates in today's workshop and decides to develop a credit transfer agreement in cybersecurity with their local high school, we have a small stipend. I mean, it's $1,000 stipend that we can offer for anybody, as long as you're a CAE school, that does develop a new CTA. So hopefully this gonna encourages you, not just the money part. I mean, that's lovely. Some of the schools that did get these stipends within the last year or two were using it to help fund their teachers to get some additional training over the summer, so that they could be qualified to teach these courses in the coming school year. It helped to cover some travel for these teachers coming back and forth to campus. So, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility in how you use that. But hopefully, between what those previous reports said about CTA development, plus a little money incentive, hopefully this gets you excited about pursuing and developing a credit transfer agreement in cybersecurity. And I'm going to pass this off to my colleague, Mike.
Hi, so thank you for your interest in creating a CTA. We know that establishing a credit transfer program takes time, patience, and commitment. However, the benefits are going to pay off for your students. So by developing strong partnerships with K12 schools, we can enhance students' education, create seamless academic pathways, and foster a positive relationship between institutions. A successful CTA requires teamwork and dedication to provide high-quality education to secondary students. So if you're considering starting this process, we are here to help. Our team is available to answer any questions you may have and guide you along the way. So for schools that do establish a new CTA, we offer additional support. And these include identifying resources in curriculum, teacher training and other materials, customizing curriculum modules to meet K-12 teacher needs, providing support for lab development, offering free access to the NDG lab hosting environment, and assisting with teacher credentialing programs. So building a strong partnership with K-12 schools benefits everyone involved. If you're ready to take the next step, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We look forward to working with you.
All right. So as you're listening to today's presentation, and like I said, whether you're just starting out or you're deep in the thick of the CTA development, if you are interested in developing a CTA, no matter where you're at, let me know. Please send me an email and say, yes, my school is interested in working on this. Let me know who your project lead is going to be and their contact information. And you may have a whole team of people that are going to be working on this, because it's a really big task. So if you've got a bunch of people that are going to be helping you with this, please include them in there. I will put you all in my CTA database, and I will follow up with a worksheet that our team developed today, and that will kind of help guide you through step by step of this CTA development. So you can use this fillable PDF however you choose. As you hear today's presentation, you can kind of jump around between different tasks, but I will send you that PDF once I get your email. And then your next thing is just to start developing that credit transfer agreement. So you can use that worksheet step by step. You can bounce around, but hopefully it kind of gives you an idea of things that you need to be looking at and the meetings that you might need to be arranging at this point. And then at the end, once you have completed your MOU, your official contract, whatever your school calls it, and it's signed off, you got your department or your provost or whoever signs off on your agreements, email a copy back to me. Now, for the money that we currently have, the CTA does have to be finalized by February 15th, or I mean by May 15th of this year. if this is a brand new task for you and you're going to be working on it for the 25-26 academic year, just put that in your email and let me know. Hey, I'm not going to be getting it done, by May of this year, but we're definitely going to be working on it in 25-26. And then that way I can keep you in my database and I know who to reach out to come fall semester. So that is really all that you would need to submit in order to get the stipends. But if the stipend isn't on your radar, today, I still hope that you get a lot of great information from our session. So I will throw my email in chat just in case you don't have it, but then I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Mike.
Okay, so a credit transfer agreement. This is also known as a transfer policy or articulation agreement, and it is a formal arrangement between educational institutions. Purpose is to facilitate the transfer of academic credits earned by students from one institution to another. These agreements are designed to create a smooth transition for students who wish to continue their education at a new institution without losing credits they've already completed. By ensuring that coursework is recognized and transferable, CTAs help students stay on track academically, saving both time and resources. So understanding the role of CTAs is key to building a strong academic partnerships that benefit students, schools, and the broader educational system. Thank you.
All right. So as Amber mentioned, my name is Katie Bowers. I'm the coordinator of academics and accreditation. I wanted to repeat that because I wanted to clarify one piece before we kind of dive into all of this. When we mention accreditation, Rachel and I work with our concurrent enrollment program at PNW, and we are accredited by NACEP, which is the national accrediting body for any sort of concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment programming. So I think that's always important to mention because as you are exploring this process, you may discover you have your own NACEP accredited programs at your institutions, or you might have NACEP or concurrent enrollment staff at your institutions who, much like Rachel and I can serve as those content area experts for you as you develop this. So I wanted to start with that plug right away because often there's people in your spaces doing this work already that might make it that much easier for you. And so if you remember that term NACEP, that can usually be a really good guiding source for you as well. So I wanted to throw that out there because otherwise my title is just long and doesn't make a lot of sense. So one of the pieces that I deal with a lot in my work is really defining and developing transfer agreements. In our work, we do that between our university and our partner high schools, and there's a lot of different pieces that kind of go into that development process. Some of these that I'm going to talk about on this and some of my next slides, they don't have to be done in this particular order, but they are largely things that do all have to get done in order to kind of check all these boxes and make sure you have a really well-defined course and partnership. So one of the first pieces that really needs to be considered before you start any of this is really what course or courses are you looking to build agreements around? It could be courses that already exist on your books that you're already teaching that you would love just to see, offered in different formats or in different places to engage more students. Or it could be you're developing a whole new course. And what we have learned along this journey as we've gotten more involved in cybersecurity is that there is a really good mixture of both taking place to just really serve the needs of you and your partners. So keep that in mind, though, that there will need to be conversations about which course or courses, or if they don't exist, that you need to do some of that backdrop work. Understanding credit transfer agreements and requirements. This is where if you have those experts on staff at your institutions already, it's really helpful because they might already know and you're not starting from scratch. Researching and identifying potential schools to partner with. This is really important because some of them may be doing some of this work as well. We discovered as we sort of dipped our toes into this world that we had 2 schools who already were offering some of these types of courses and experiences for their students, which made that partnership so much easier. Contacting the schools. I know Rachel's going to give you some tips and tricks for that, negotiating agreement terms, and then implementing the program. So some of these are things that, like I said, if you already have the course, you've already checked that box, right? But just things to be aware of as you're going through the process. I know I already mentioned this in the last slide, but really identifying what curriculum you want to offer is going to be really important. And well, it may be that you have a course that you already offer and you're like, we know this is what we want to do in the school. You might reach out to that partner and find out that that doesn't fit for whatever reason. Maybe because of their reporting and state requirements, maybe because of their timelines, right? You might find out that, oh, we can actually do more because they see the students more and they have more face time. So really kind of having an idea, though having a starting point is going to be helpful, but just kind of thinking about how you're going to approach that and then what the needs are of both sides of this partnership.
All right, this is me. Unless Katie, you wanted to say something.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I feel like sometimes I get repetitive, but Rachel and I live in this space so much, so I always like to make sure that I hit these points home because what seems so common sense to me is because I'm in it every day, right? And oftentimes that doesn't always translate necessarily the same way. So no, I'm good. Thanks, Rachel.
Amber, if you can go back one slide, please. So you already heard, and again, hello, Rachel Myers. And you heard what Katie does in our office here at Purdue University Northwest. And then my title, Coordinator of Students and School Partnerships. I'm the one that researches the schools. Not that Katie does it, but it's more under my job description. And I see who wants to partner with us and I contact the school. So I'm going to give you a couple tips on what we do and how we've been successful. So we've always said this when we've done this presentation before is if you don't know if your school already has a concurrent enrollment office, some sort of dual credit, dual enrollment, everyone calls it something different, check within your university to see if you have an office like that already, just so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you do, the likelihood is they're partnering with many, many schools already that you have no idea that they are. That might be, and you heard Katie say, we found out 2 of our high schools already were offering these sorts of courses. So that did help to make this process for this last school year, this current school year, a lot easier. And here's another idea, actually. Katie and I also work with our School of Education and Counseling. And if you don't have concurrent enrollment, you could also reach out to your School of Education as well. You know they're partnering with local schools and districts as well, probably placing some of those secondary candidates in the schools, and they might have some really great partnerships to discuss with you as well. So definitely research those local K-12 schools that align with your institution's mission and programs. You can definitely consider the factors such as like location, their academic reputation, things like that. And then also have a history of collaborating with other educational institutions. You always know there are some of those schools that will do anything to partner with anyone. So definitely do a little research there. And now contacting the schools. This is where definitely, send that initial email, introducing yourself, what this program is, what you're trying to accomplish. I suggest always an email first, explaining what I'm going to give you some tips here in a bit, and then following up with a phone call. But in that email, we suggest like highlighting the benefits of the partnership for both your institution and the K-12 schools. So I wrote this out. Normally when I've done this presentation, I haven't listed the benefits because in my head, this is just what I know. But then I realize a lot of people do not understand how much concurrent enrollment can benefit these, the schools and universities. So I'm going to read here from a paper that I was writing down. So for the high schools, when you do this email to them, you can talk to them how it helps with academic rigor and college readiness, where it definitely pushes their students academically and prepares them for the demands of higher ed, right? No brainer. We know these high school kids taking these college level courses is going to help them prepare for post-secondary. Also, increase graduation rates and college enrollment. The schools will love if you talk to them about this. By earning college credit in high school, students are more likely to continue their education after graduation, which helps them improve their high school graduation rates and leads to higher college enrollment rates. And then for universities, the benefits for universities, expanded reach and community engagement. Universities can forge stronger partnership with local high schools, contributing to community outreach and creating a pipeline of future students. Katie and I, we have an outreach initiative we have called our P&W Jumpstart program, where we go into our high schools who are registered to meet with these students who are registered for these cybersecurity concurrent enrollment classes of ours. We brought Dr. Tu in with us to one of our schools, actually, and the kids loved it. The kids are seeing the faculty who are involved in this. We also give away 5 $1,000 scholarships to anyone that just has 3 credits with us in high school that are hoping to come to P&W. I already have seen a couple of those cybersecurity students submitting applications because now they want to come to P&W. so that you're out there, they know that we're trying to do good in the high schools with these students. Another benefit is increased enrollment and retention. Offering concurrent enrollment courses helps universities identify motivated, high-achieving students early. Again, you're building relationships with these kids, whether they're freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors in high school, they know you. And when you're starting to offer these courses in the high schools, they know you. They're not afraid anymore. They might think, oh, professors are so scary. I've heard stories, I've seen movies. But then when they go in, and when our kids got to see Dr. Tu at one of our local high schools, they're like, hey, he's not so scary after all, and this could be kind of fun. So it's just those sorts of things. And I'll say one more benefit that would be good to add to your email when you reach out to them to see if they'd be interested is, again, just students with college credit, just better prepared students. When high school students come to the university with college credits already earned, they're often more prepared for the rigors of higher ed, which ultimately contributes to a higher rate of success and satisfaction among university students. So again, that's a benefit for you all at the university level, but that's something good to add as well.
All right. So here's where I revisit my plug or my suggestion of finding out if there's anyone at your institution who's doing this work. As Rachel mentioned, there may be someone in your college or school of education who is already working with schools or a concurrent enrollment group or whatever that might look like. But this can be where it's a little bit tricky because this might be kind of information or pieces that you're not working with as regularly. So one thing we know in this changing world of education is that there's going to be different guidelines and requirements for every level of education, and that includes our K-12 partners. So really taking time to understand sort of the school and state requirements and the context you're working in will make this process run more smoothly when you get into those conversations. So make sure that if you have a partner on campus who can help you, request that information from them so they can really help you make sense of those requirements. Ask your K-12 partners when you make those connections, what is it that you need to know from their perspective that's going to be important. And this could be things just as simple as book adoptions, right? If you have a certain textbook that you really have to use for your class, but the high school might not be able to afford that. They have different funding and they have different timelines, right? So it could be something at that level that seems like it's very minute, but that could honestly kind of make or break some of these relationships. So really make sure you have an understanding of some of those pieces and you're asking those questions. Understand where there are similarities and differences in your partnerships so that way you both can come at this from a place of where do we need to align things and where are we already in alignment, right? And this could be going back to curriculum pieces, right, where you're already doing the same things. This could be things like timelines. Maybe they start before you or start after you, thinking about things like that. But just make sure you kind of have a sense of what some of those requirements are. From the concurrent enrollment landscape, if again you have a partner who works in concurrent enrollment on campus, they can help you understand accreditation requirements, like my job. So they can help you really make sure you navigate those things smoothly and help make that easier for you. So again, just not being afraid to ask those questions though, because what we have learned and Rachel and I see this all the time is that we speak different languages. We're all in education, but we're all speaking very different languages, even on campus from department to department, right? We all have fun different acronyms and we all have fun different ways of doing things. So again, don't be afraid to ask questions, have those conversations, try to figure out, make sure you're speaking the same language because this is going to be obviously detrimental if you haven't defined those things when you get to the point of signing an MOU if you're still speaking two different languages. So again, ask for information, make sure you're understanding those pieces, and then again, look for those partners who are already doing this work on your campus. I would also say, not to volunteer Rachel and I, but as we have worked with Dr. Tu and his team the last year or so, we have helped make connections with our partners. So if for example, you are in Pennsylvania and you're having a hard time understanding the K-12 requirements, we might have colleagues in those states that can help you understand it. So again, don't be afraid to reach out. We're now part of that network that can help you as well. So I know I've kind of danced around the curriculum piece a little bit. Again, if you know this is the course we have to offer, right? This is the one that we know we need to use, and you take that to the school and they're great offering that as is, that's really the easiest, right? That makes it a lot smoother. It's really easy for those teachers. They're happy to know exactly what they're supposed to teach. If they're already offering an existing course, though, there may be some curricular alignment that needs to take place to make sure that the course they're offering and the course that you need to be taught is in alignment. So some things to consider when you're having those conversations is um, does the high school have time to offer a amalgamation of both courses? What we have found is that usually the high school teachers have much more face time with their students than we do at the university level. Oftentimes they're seeing those students 3, 4, 5 times a week. If it's block scheduling, sometimes it's 5, 6 hours a week where maybe we only see them for 3. So they may be able to do more. And if the curriculum doesn't align perfectly, just making sure that the learning objectives that you need to be met are still there, making sure that the key assessments that you need to be offering to make sure they're meeting those objectives are there. But be prepared to be a little bit flexible. Again, sometimes it's an easy match. Sometimes the school isn't offering any course and they're just happy to be given curriculum. And that's where some of these other resources come into place, right? Where they love being told, here's this class. They don't have to do any of that work. But if they're already offering an existing course, just again, be kind of mindful of where is there room for that give and take and where is there just not? Because again, the partnership's going to obviously hinge on whether or not you can find a curriculum that meets both of your needs. And again, kind of the same piece, right? Make sure that the school is aware of how these courses might transfer to the university. Obviously the goal, not the goal, but what would be nice is if all those students, like Rachel mentioned, took your class and then came to your university. So be thinking about what other things can you be doing to help them understand the curriculum and the major and really want them to. Help the schools though also understand that if they take it with you, will it transfer somewhere else? That's really a big deal because we know that in addition to loving that students might want to come to our institutions, we also want to do a service for both the communities we live and serve in, and also the cybersecurity world in general, right? The more students we get excited about this, the better it is for everybody. Unfortunately, that may mean they go to different institutions. So be open about that when you're meeting with those schools. Make sure that they have a sense of what that would look like for their students. We want to make sure that we're doing what's best kind of for everybody, and that includes the students and families we serve.
All right, thank you. So next is the legal review and documentation, and this is really for deans, principals, and administrators who need to ensure the success of a credit transfer agreement. So you're going to be required to do careful legal review and thorough documentation. So some key action items to consider are state-specific laws and regulations to understand and comply with state laws governing credit transfers, institutional policies and procedures. So align the agreement with your institution's existing policies and academic standards, potential challenges and solutions. So this is about institutional change. Consider how factors like mergers, acquisitions, or curriculum updates may impact your agreement. So this is something that is relevant to PNW because it's something that we experienced a few years ago. We kind of merged with another campus. Ethical considerations, student welfare. Does the agreement must prioritize students' best interests and avoid unfair or discriminatory practices. And transparency and fairness. Maintain clear, open communication throughout the credit transfer process. And of course, ongoing monitoring and evaluation. So regular reviews, periodically assess the effectiveness of the agreement, analyzing your data, use data to track credit transfer outcomes and identify trends, and feedback mechanisms. So you want to make sure that you have established ways to collect input from students, faculty, staff to improve future agreements. So by addressing these key areas, institutions can help to build strong, sustainable partnerships that support student success. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then finalizing the agreement. So finalizing a credit transfer agreement requires attention to legal and procedural details. Some things to consider before signing are confidentiality and non-disclosure. So, of course, there are going to be student privacy issues. Ensure all confidential student information is protected in accordance with data privacy laws. This is something that higher ed and really secondary education is already kind of doing, but make sure that this is part of your agreement. Intellectual property. If this is involved, you need to safeguard the rights of both institutions. Termination provisions for student withdrawal define the impact of a student withdrawing before completing the agreement, and institutional changes account for modifications in curriculum or policies that may affect the agreement's validity. Additional considerations would be dual enrollment programs, so ensure compliance with regulations governing students earning college credits while in high school. Articulation agreements clearly define which courses are transferable and outline any prerequisites or requirements. And student advising provide guidance to help students understand the agreement and prepare for seamless transition. By addressing these factors, institutions can create a strong, transparent agreement that protects all parties and supports student success. And implementing and monitoring. So once a credit transfer agreement is in place, successful implementation and ongoing monitoring are essential for long-term success. So for your program launch, you want to begin offering the agreed upon courses to high school students. You want to do regular monitoring. So you're going to track the program's progress and effectiveness and make necessary adjustments to enhance student outcomes. Some action items to consider would be course offerings. You're going to roll out the courses outlined in the CTA. Data collection. So you want to make sure that you're gathering your key metrics on enrollment, course completion, and academic performance. Feedback gathering. Collect input from students, teachers, and administrators to evaluate the effectiveness. You want to make sure that you're doing data analysis so you can identify trends, strengths, and areas for improvement, and make adjustments to your program. So modify course content, eligibility criteria, or program structure as needed. Additional considerations would be student support services, faculty training, communication and collaboration, and long-term evaluation. So you want to make sure that you are continually assessing the program's impact on students, including college enrollment and persistence. So by continuously evaluating and refining the program, institutions can maximize its benefits for students and create a strong foundation for future academic success. And continuous communication. This is about having a strong partnership, and this requires ongoing communication and collaboration. Maintaining open lines of communication ensures that credit transfer agreements remain effective and beneficial for all parties. Key points here would be open communication, issue resolution, and partner expansion. You want to ensure that you're holding regular meetings, so you want to make sure that you're scheduling consistent check-ins with your K12 school reps. Feedback mechanisms, you want to make sure that you have created channels for students, teachers, and administrators to share insights and experiences. And explore joint research initiatives, workshops, or student engagement events, and of course, NACEP accreditation. So consider pursuing National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships accreditation to reinforce program quality and credibility. So this is something that Katie and Rachel are both really big on. So if your school already has this, great. If not, consider talking to somebody to help implement accreditation with NACEP. And other considerations are going to be cultural competency, encourage mutual understanding between K12 and higher ed schools. So sometimes there is that disconnect between what teachers are doing in the classroom versus what would happen on campus at your school. Teachers are really good at putting out information in ways that K12 students can understand. So they have a whole toolkit of pedagogy at their command, plus they see the students often, almost daily in most cases. If not, then they're seeing them 2 or 3 times a week, but for extended periods of time. So make sure that you understand that and how that's going to affect what the students are learning, because they're, as Rachel and Katie have already pointed out, that they're going to be seeing their students a lot more often than you'll get to see them if they were taking your classes on campus. All right. And data sharing, evaluation and reflection. So you need to regularly assess partnerships' effectiveness and make sure that you celebrate your successes and address areas for growth. So by fostering a culture of continuous communication and collaboration, institutions can create stronger, more effective credit transfer programs that support student achievement and long-term success.
All right, so I get the fun part. So, Rachel's a bit really loves visualization of information. So we made this map a couple of sessions ago, and I think it's really fun. And I took it next level. So over the past 2 years, so we started in 2023, so 23-24, and then 24-25 school year, we've had 8 schools complete brand new cybersecurity credit transfer agreements, which is amazing. As some of you know, as you're in the thick of it right now, that this process does not always go very quickly, and it can take years. I mean, some of us have been working on it for a couple of years. My buddy Luis from Puerto Rico is joining us today, and I know he and his colleague have been working on this process for a couple years now, and they just keep plugging away at it. And I know that's the same situation for many of you as well. But yeah, we in the since the workshop that we held in September, we've had 4 new schools, and those are our 4 green stars on the map. So congratulations to 4 new schools who developed their new credit transfer agreements this past year. We're really excited to be seeing this growth. And just to know, for those of you who had committed and you're still working on it, don't feel like you're not making progress just because it's taking you longer. So just know that this is not a speedy process. And I know Katie has talked about that throughout her slides as well. There's a lot of back and forth and coordination and collaboration and stuff like that that needs to happen. And I know that for some of our departments, we're going through ABET or other accreditations. We've had faculty turnover. We've had people that were in one role and they've moved into another role, and now we've got a new faculty member picking up this CTA task, and they're just kind of starting from scratch. So just know that we understand that there's a lot of different factors that come into getting this final piece, and whatever work that you're doing right now is much appreciated, and it will have benefits in the end. It just may not be immediate right now. So um, I just really love this map. So I'm going to pass it over back to, well, I don't know if Mike's going, but Katie and Rachel will be going to the symposium in South Carolina in April with Dr. Tu, and they are going to be presenting. Katie, Rachel, do you want to give a little like snippet about what your session is going to be about?
So our presentation, it's very short. I think it's not a lightning talk, but it's the next level up. It's very short. It's taking a lot of what we're talking about in this type of session, and giving much more hands-on practical tips and steps on how to build these partnerships and get these kind of pieces up and running. Rachel, do you want to add anything?
No, no, not at all. Yeah, everything Katie said, we're gonna, talk about some, once we get those those CTAs done and we're in the schools, some fun little things we do to engage the students more, to really hopefully, yes, as you heard Katie say, we hope they go anywhere for cybersecurity, but we really would love for them to come to our school, right? And so like some fun things to do to try recruiting, engage them, things like that.
And I can say, having presented with both of these ladies in the past, this session is going to be fun no matter what. So if your colleagues weren't able to attend today, or you're going to happen to be at the symposium yourself, please seek them out once that agenda, the schedule comes out. Please seek them out and try and attend if you can. It's going to be a really fun and rewarding time. So little
So
plug for that.
we do have another workshop, in-person workshop, Katie and Rachel. So besides your 10 minutes of lightning talk, we have 45 minutes of discussion about how to build this CTA agreement. So that will be more discussion talking about our best practice, talking about the challenge and the opportunities, and right. So how can we support? So we do have a 45 minutes of in-person workshop at this AE symposium in 3 weeks, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Hope
wonderful.
to
Thank
see
you.
you all there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tu. Thanks for adding that in. Wasn't aware of that, so that's awesome. Okay, so hopefully when you all are there, please seek out the team. All right, so we've come to the end of our presentation. This is when I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. So like, what are some questions that you might be having, or maybe spots where you're at and you just want a little feedback, or you want some feedback from your colleagues, like what are you guys doing about these different situations? So I'm going to open up the floor. If you want to come off of mute and ask your question, go for it. If you'd rather throw it in chat, we'll monitor chat, but here's your chance to ask your burning questions about cybersecurity credit transfer agreements. Any,
Amber, I'm going to add something real quick, just while we're waiting for
yeah,
some with that first question. Most of you will probably see I entered a link into the chat, and it's the NASEP.org membership directory. I just wanted to say, just because when you look on that, just because you don't see your university's name in there, doesn't mean your university does not do dual credit though. So you can offer dual credit, but not be accredited by NASEP. So that's why still, just you're like, oh, I don't see my school there in Iowa. Still look to see if you have a dual credit office, because again, states are so different with what they require with this accreditation for dual credit. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And Rachel and I were clearly having the same thought, because I also put a link in the chat almost simultaneously. We were on a different national webinar earlier about dual enrollment, AP, all of those pieces. And the one piece of advice I heard asked, which I really liked, was, well, what if we're not NASEP accredited? Do we still have to follow those guidelines? And the answer was, you don't have to, but it's a really great way to have kind of a guiding North Star to help you sort of define what things you do and don't want to do in terms of best practices. So I did link the accreditation guide in the chat. Again, you don't have to do it, but it can help when you're having those conversations about expectations between you and your partners, what types of things to consider in terms of student experience, faculty requirements, professional development, all of those pieces. So even if you aren't NASEP accredited, as Rachel mentioned, it still can give you some really good ideas for how to implement your program and your partnership.
very good. And that's normally a question that we would get during this time. How can I look up the NASEP information? So you guys hit that one right out of the park. But we do have some questions in chat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll read them out and I'll let you guys jump in. So what guidelines do you use or apply for high school teacher qualifications, Katie?
This is a great question. So it's a great question. It's a tricky question, as everything is. So if you are a Higher Learning Commission accredited institution, the Higher Learning Commission has given pretty specific guidance on how you credential or qualify high school teachers. And so we are an HLC institution. I know that one backwards and forwards. It does give more flexibility in areas of CTE or career technical ed, which cybersecurity falls under. But we do have to kind of, work within their parameters on a lot of our credentialing and qualification work. Unfortunately, because again, I live and breathe HLC. I don't know all of the other accrediting bodies requirements as clearly. So I would recommend starting with that, depending on who accredits your institution. Look and see if they have specific requirements. I will also add, and probably Dr. Tu could speak to this even more, but if the teacher needs help towards obtaining the qualifications, there are constantly opportunities that I see come through my email that we share out with teachers in terms of graduate courses that are out there to help them learn, different curriculums that are available to them. So if you aren't already seeing those, I'd say look for them. But those are things that are out there. Our office specifically offers 2 scholarships for graduate coursework at P&W for our CEP partner teachers. So they can apply as frequently as they want to. They can take advantage of it. One of our English teachers years ago funded his whole grad degree by just taking advantage of that scholarship.
Wow, that's amazing.
Whenever I said that we were going to advertise it, he would respectfully ask me not to, because it might make it harder for him to get it. But so that's another thing you can think about as you're having these partner conversations. Is that something that you might want to offer just to really further strengthen that partnership? So that's something that we just do internally. But again, as I mentioned, Dr. Tu is constantly sharing with me these other opportunities that are available to instructors all over the place. So look for those. And again, reach out to whoever does your accrediting through your institution as a whole, and find out if there are specific requirements you have to follow within that.
Good.
I just want to thank you for the answer. and the insight there. It has been, I'm the one who posted the question in the chat. I've been working on high school partnerships as part of my faculty role for quite a few years, and it's been the number one obstacle internally. And I think it's awesome that you're able to offer scholarships, but it's with the HLC requirements, and then just at least in our area, really lack of high school teachers that have any computer science courses at all in their background. They're just rare to find unless they're at like a tech center or something like that. So it's been a big obstacle. So I appreciate your insight into what's worked for you. I think I need to find some scholarship money internally somehow. Good luck with that these days, but I'll try.
No, we are not alone in that. Rachel and I serve on peer review teams for our accrediting body, and I can't tell you how many different institutions I've talked to where that's the number one complaint, is that especially for those HLC schools that started making things a little more strict, it's really hard. As Dr. Tu put in the chat, for us, and this is within HLC, so this is not just P&W. Again, cybersecurity is considered career and technical ed, which means we can also rely on work experience. So I don't remember his full background, but one of our high school teachers actually used to work, I think, at the Pentagon. And so he has significant experience in this field. So we were able to work with that in combination with his education experience to credential him. So it does give us a little bit of flexibility, but I get it, especially if it's someone who went straight into teaching from undergrad and never has any work experience outside of teaching. Finding creative ways to help them meet those credentials can be a real sticking point.
And I'm going to add too, we hear from our school partners all the time, because once we got involved with cybersecurity, I say to my principals and counselors all the time, like, hey, what about your cybersecurity class? And that's what we hear. We're like, we don't have anyone qualified yet. We're just now, so we know it's a slow rollout for most of our schools. But like this year, we had 2 schools, and we have 50 to 70 students somewhere in there. And already, I think we're almost doubling our school number for next year, because they've heard. So we know it's going to be a slow rollout. So if you're patient, and it's just you're going to end up getting eventually teachers that have some credentials to teach this. We see it happening. Again, it's slow, but we see it happening.
Yeah, and something that I had actually reached out to was the Insight program, which I think is through Whatcom University, if anybody, or community college, whoever, if there's anybody here that's from there. And even though they're training their participants to be community college teachers, we were playing around with the idea of maybe team teaching, like having somebody who went through their Insight program pairing up with a teacher that's already licensed and at that school, because most of those people going through on-site aren't going to be licensed teachers. But so you've got one person who's got all the technical background, and then you got the other person who's got the teaching credential, trying to pair them up and seeing if we could run a program that way. Yes, thank you, Dr. To the on-site fellowship program. um, uh, I know that they did a soft hit out to those on-site students, and they didn't get any takers yet, but don't count it out. That was one idea that I had come up with to try and find qualified teachers. And then another idea that we came up with was some of these cybersecurity training programs where there are people who are getting the cyber training, but they may not have that teaching degree yet, but they do have a degree. Seeing if any of them might be interested in like getting an emergency teaching license or something that might qualify in their state. And we do have some teachers that are going through that cyber training who are interested in teaching dual credit. It's just not offered at their high school, but gosh darn it, we've got a qualified teacher. So we're trying to pair them up with a CAE institution and trying to work things that way. So if you're kind of in that boat, think creative, think about some workarounds and see, and I can definitely try and help as much as I can, but these were just some ideas that we've come up with to try and like find a workaround, because this is a huge problem for pretty much for many people. So
You're in good
that
company.
you're in good company. Yes, we're
One
trying to
other
be.
thing I do want to say, just in terms of, I know that we are very fortunate we're able to offer these 2 internal scholarships. It comes from our concurrent budget, which I know doesn't exist. But one, if you're trying to make the case, one thing that we have discovered is, especially for some of our CTE areas where they don't need the full masters, right? Maybe we say they need these 4 or 5 classes. With some of our previous courses, we allowed them to use that scholarship till they hit the credentialing requirement. But then that teacher did decide to stay on to complete their master's with their, their own funding and their own money. So it became a bit of a double recruitment tool, because now not only were we going to be able to connect with those high school students, we also now recruited a potential new grad student to our institution. So if you're having to make that case, that was one of our benefits. The other thing I will say, and I know this isn't necessarily the point, but if you're absolutely unable to find those credentialed teachers, but you're still having these partnership conversations, you can think about just what other ways can you partner. So we know when we were presenting at one of our schools, it was a math teacher who teaches math courses, but she runs that high school's cybersecurity club. Well, they do I can't ethical hacking, I think, after school. And so she was asking, can we still participate in different things on campus? Could we still, connect with the professor? And so there's other ways you can still connect while you're trying to solve these other problems. So just to kind of be thinking creatively about what other things can you build into the partnership while you're waiting to figure out how you can get a credentialed teacher.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I see Dr. Two is throwing some more helpful programs that might help you to solve that problem as well. But that was a really great question. Um, Katie, one question that always comes up, and I don't know if you want to dive into it or not, but what is the difference between dual credit, dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment? We've got all these different terms, and do they mean different things? Do they mean the same thing? Like what? Can you give us a little breakdown?
I would love to. I'm going to preface this by saying I will tell you what the NACEP definitions are, which is our
Okay.
accrediting body.
Okay.
I can tell you, even within our state of Indiana, which is, where everyone here is still NACEP accredited, we use different languaging across the board. Legislatively, they use different languaging. It might be called early college and high school, dual credit, dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment. So I will preface my answer by saying, just make sure that when you reach out to your partner schools, you are using the same language. If you're not using our accrediting body's language and you're not accredited, that's fine. Just make sure you and your partner know what it is you're talking about.
Got it.
But for our accrediting body, for NACEP, again, we're the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Programs. Concurrent enrollment specifically means college courses taught by a qualified high school teacher in the high school. So if you hear concurrent enrollment from our accrediting body's perspective, it's where it's taught by an approved high school instructor in the high school.
Okay.
Dual enrollment is more when the students come to campus. So when you hear like dual enrollment, dual credit, they might be referring to when a high school student comes to you to take the class, which is another model you could pursue. I would definitely encourage you, again, if you're coming back to some of these teacher credentialing issues, think about that. Is there a way you can offer the class on campus where high school students come to you? Sometimes that alleviates that burden. But if you hear concurrent enrollment from our accreditation perspective, that's specific to a class taught by a high school teacher in the high school. And again, it's every conference I go to, every time I hear it referenced, like I said, legislatively, even in Indiana, it's all different. We just reestablished our Indiana state chapter of NACEP. It's called INSEP. And probably the first 3 conversations around the bylaws are, what are we even going to call this? Because nothing is consistent. So
Oh,
again,
Lord.
just make sure that whatever you opt to use for your languaging is the same languaging that your partner's using. Because again, we love to talk about all these different things. Career and Technical Ed, CTE, is pretty consistent from state to state. I'm pretty sure that every conference I go to, we do hear CTE. And that's just usually those dual credit or dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment opportunities that are specific to career and technical education spaces. Especially for, in our world, it's kind of divided between CTE, career and technical ed focused courses, or general education courses, which are kind of the bulk of concurrent enrollment courses. So again, just make sure you have your languaging and acronyms consistent. That's really the main thing.
To add one other thing, just to make it even more confusing. If anyone ever asks you, well, isn't concurrent enrollment dual credit the same as AP? It is not. So again, concurrent enrollment, dual credit, you're building a transcript. Your university, the high school kid is building a university transcript with a grade. Whatever the final grade is in that course is what goes on that transcript. Where AP is, you take the course and then you take the test at the end of the semester or the year, or however long. And then if you score a 3, 4, or 5, then you get college credit. That's where concurrent enrollment, dual credit, guaranteed college credit. AP, it depends on if you pass that test.
And that's good to clarify too, Rachel, because that is also something that pops up too, is the AP credit. Yep, very good. Well, and since you're already talking, Rachel, do you want to talk about a little bit more about some of the cool things that you do even to bring the students to campus, like with these partnerships with the schools? What are some cool things that you do about bringing them to campus and getting them more engaged and maybe leaning a little bit more towards attending our school?
Yeah, no, I would love to. Um, Lots of things we do. You've heard me say we go into the high schools and we do some outreach initiatives called our Jumpstart. So again, that's when we go into the classroom. They do not leave, but we walk them through how to activate their accounts, their MyPNW accounts. We explain to them the consequences and the benefits of taking these concurrent enrollment classes, what it means. You're a Purdue student. You are, you have to abide by the same GPA requirement as us. You have to do this and that. You have to pay on time. But you also have all these resources. Because you're a PNW student, you get to come to the cybersecurity club. If you know you're going to come here and do that, you can start participating in those things. You can use our writing center, our tutors, all those sorts of things. So when we go into the high schools, we do that, PNW Jumpstart, but then we do bring the kids onto campus. We just call it, it's nothing too original. We call it our CEP day on campus. But we have them in the past. We've had them sit in some undergrad instructors classes with other college kids. We bring them back together at the end of that. We ask them what the biggest differences they see between their high school class and this course that they just sat in on the college campus. They always say, number one, oh my gosh, they can have their phone out when they would say like they can leave and go to the bathroom whenever they want. It's those sorts of things. But then it makes them realize that they are totally capable of taking these classes and doing okay. So we've had kids say that. One kid, his exact wording was, and when I said, what was a big takeaway? He raised his hand and he said, college kids are actually human. He goes, I just thought they were so much better and bigger than what I could ever be. And by sitting in that class, he realized I could do this. So we get them on here. We introduce them to other faculty and staff, other college students, and just a way to connect them even more than they already, just so they really feel that they are part of the Purdue Northwest community and we're not just all talk. So we do that as well. Katie and I do a lot of things. We bring kids onto campus for academic Super Bowls and speech and debate and get them involved that way as well. So we do things to make them realize they can do college, they can have fun. There's benefits, but there's also consequences and all of the above.
That's one of
And
the
that,
things that
yeah.
gets Rachel and I so jazzed about the work that we do is that there's a lot of research that supports how concurrent enrollment students are successful in college. Obviously, their time to degree completion is faster. But a lot of the research shows specifically those middle of the road kids who may not have seen themselves capable of college tend to benefit the most because they see themselves as a college student. They have a college experience. They now understand that they can be successful, whereas they maybe wouldn't have gone to college prior to that. So we really get excited about that because again, you have your A, students in high school who are going to go to college anyway, and then you have that group of students who maybe were on the fence, and this is an opportunity to help them understand and see that they can do this work.
And can I add one more thing before I see Gary's hand up?
Yep.
One more thing. You heard me mention before that you heard Katie's 2 scholarships she gives to instructors. You heard me mention earlier about 5 student scholarships we give to our high school students. We had a record number of essay submissions this year. I was just going through all of them, and a couple of them have one whole paragraph stating, and what the question is, we asked them to write about the impact concurrent enrollment had on their decision to go to college. And one paragraph on a couple of them is like, when the PNW staff came in and talked, they made me realize I want to be a part of their university, and the faculty and staff are so nice. So that's in these essay submissions that we're looking at now too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Gary, go ahead if you want to come off of mute and ask your question. Floor is yours.
Well, some of the experience we got in Nebraska a couple of years ago passed a law that high school students can take community college classes at no cost. And we have an office at the college. It's the high school academy class. As a matter of fact, fall and winter quarter, I taught 2 high school classes in cybersecurity. What we found out too is by having college students mixed in with the high school students in class, it gives the high school student role model to follow, because when you just have pure high school students, they act like high school students. And so it was very interesting in that. But we also work with, matter of fact, one of my adjuncts is a high school teacher.
Okay.
So she's using the content from our course as part of what she does at the high school.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. The I think that integration of those high school students, I've seen it with the students who come onto our campus that are from an area high school, and they come to campus and they sit through those college classes, and that maturity that has to come a little bit with, not being in a high school class and being able to behave like you are in high school. So I can I resonate with that.
I think that's why I would echo what Rachel has already said, and I know Dr. Tu put it in the chat, especially for the concurrent enrollment courses in the high school, going in and really emphasizing that you are a college student with very real consequences is really so valuable, because we do know there's a certain kind of mindset of high school students, and if they don't really understand that this is a college course, they may not take it seriously. So
Hmm.
it really is valuable to make sure they understand what this is going to mean for them, the long-term implications if they don't take it seriously, but also all the ways they can take advantage of the college resources like libraries and writing centers that can really help serve them as well. So helping kind of serve as more of a bridge to being a college student than sort of this one-off class they take in high school.
Absolutely. Yep, that's a very valid. And we've got a question in chat, and this one comes up too. How is the cost of high school student tuition, even if lower rate, funded? And that's we get that from a lot of different schools. Yeah. Does anybody want to tackle that one?
I can throw up my bit of experience is that it is kind of the Wild West depending on what state you're in. So every state has a different approach to this. Dr. Tu put in the chat in Indiana for community college is completely free. It's kind of offset by state funding. And then for four-year institutions, it's $25 per credit hour. Unless the student is free and reduced lunch. But that all is completely written into state legislature. We can't change that. We have to follow state code. I know from some of these review teams I'm on, there's some kind of similar modeling in a lot of states. I believe in Minnesota, or is it Michigan? I think it's free for community college, but different for 4 years. So it really varies state to state and institution to institution. So we know some states there's very little legislation around it. So the schools kind of get to say what they want to say. But in most states, there's something written somewhere in the legislature that will tell you what that cost is going to be and how it gets offset.
Yeah. Yeah, that comes up. And we've had four-year institutions say, how can we help, make the tuition costs a little bit more bearable for our students? And we've always had to bounce it back to like, oh, whatever your school's willing to do and whatever the state might say. Like, yeah, unfortunately, there's no like nice standard, easy rule for everybody to follow.
Can I make a comment on Veronica's comment in the chat? Because I
Yeah.
think, I don't know, unless you want to, Rachel, because you're really good at
Getting
explaining
ready to
this.
type in. Yeah, you see, Veronica said, need to be aware of the grade in these courses could affect their graduation. You see, yeah, it could definitely affect GPA. I'm also considered the advisor for all of our CEP students. When we go in and talk with them during our jump starts, we cannot stress that enough. We actually have them get into what we call at P&W, their degree works. It's their degree audit program. And we have them get in to see what their Purdue GPA is. And we always like, now it's different. It's probably different than your high school GPA. And everyone nods their head. Yes, it's different. And we, talk to them about the consequences, the benefits, but we talk to them, they're college students, so they can drop or withdraw the course if they want, just like any other college student. And so we really talk with our high school teachers to keep an eye on that grade book and help us out as well. Obviously, I cannot get into everyone, all 3,000 students grades and see, but emails go out. We talk with the teachers because we always tell them these classes are supposed to help them, not set them up for failure. So we remind them and the teachers of that all the time.
I love seeing all these comments from these states that have it completely free. That is such a huge selling point for these agreements. So, kudos to North Carolina and some of the other states that said it's completely free.
Something if I could throw in
Yeah,
on that, so I'm in Tennessee. So the program that we set up or that we're still developing out, I mean, we've had it for a couple of years now. We called it Golden Eagle Cyber Certificate. So it is a dual enrollment program, but back to
nice.
the discussion of the funding. So Tennessee had a program they put in several years ago called the Tennessee Promise. So once they graduate high school, they can get a community college degree free, as long as they meet grade point requirements, do the volunteer service and all the other stuff. There's a program they go through a mentoring process to do it. But as part of that same package, they have under the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation a dual enrollment grant. So that grant sets a dollar amount. The universities must agree to that's the dollar amount they'll charge. So the students, as long as they don't exhaust all 5 of the dual enrollment slots they have, can apply and have that fee paid for. And then the other thing we did in the program when we set it up, we said it's great. You can recreate your college classroom experience. You cannot have a textbook. So you must go open source for the course, because that would have been the other impediment to some of these kids taking the classes if they had to pay for a $200 textbook. And, we have some regions right around where we're at. So we're in Putnam County, Tennessee. We're on the eastern side of Middle Tennessee. If you look at all the counties around us, most of them are considered economically distressed, and one textbook would have absolutely eliminated a
Wipe them.
student from even thinking about taking a course. So we said if you offered it dual enrollment, it could only be done so if you did it as an open source course.
Wow. That's a really nice, the Tennessee Promise, Golden Promise. What was it?
The Tennessee Promise, basically, if you have a 2.8 or better coming out of high school, you complete the mentoring program and 12 hours of volunteer service, you can have all 2 years, 4 semesters, whatever, of your associate's degree paid for.
Wow, what an amazing opportunity for
And
students.
and then they also reward the high schools on dual enrollment as
Okay.
well. So if one of the metrics for how the districts get funding from the state is the number of EPSOs they offer students while they're in high school. So the more students that take dual enrollment, AP, or those type of opportunities, it's a funding boost for the school districts. So the state incentivizes the districts to try to get students to take dual enrollment classes.
So state of Tennessee is putting out a lot of support for this.
They doubled and tripled down.
That's awesome. That's great. That's really great to hear. Does anybody else have state programs that are as robust as that? I think that's pretty awesome.
North Carolina also has a program like that. And our program, so students from high school is dual enrolled into community college. So, and while they're in high school, they take dual enrollment class at the community colleges. All of those are free. And when they graduate from high school, they graduate with the high school diploma and the 2-year degree as well. And
Wow.
that's all free for them, but they have to have already been in dual enrollment while they were in high school. Now you can't get out of high school and then get in the program. You had to be in high school and doing dual enroll for that program to be free. But now let's say you weren't in a dual enrollment program and you wanted to go to community college. You just graduated from high school, then
Yeah.
it's something like $25 per credit for you to go to community college, but that's still really cheap to go to
Yeah.
community college. And then we have other programs where students, depending on your GPA, you can go to a community college, you get a scholarship. So if you had a 4.0 all the way through high school, you can go to community college for free.
Wow.
And then it's, so that there's a lot of different programs in the state that really is supporting education and partnering with the high school community college.
And again, state funded.
State funded, yes.
That's really great to hear. Anybody else? Thank you both for sharing that. I wish we had some lovely incentives like that. Anybody else have any other questions or any comments that you would like to share? It's been really great to hear about all of these different programs and opportunities. I really appreciate everybody for coming off of mute and sharing those today. Otherwise, I can give you all 15 minutes back of your day. It's 2:45 right now our time. So if there's no other questions, I'm okay wrapping up early. Katie, Rachel, Dr. Tu, Mike, anybody have anything else they want to chime in with before we close out?
I was just gonna say thank you, and hopefully I see a lot of you. Come up and introduce yourselves if you're going to Charleston. I would love to meet you in person.
I'll just second that. Thank you for listening to us. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we hope to meet you if the opportunity presents itself.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Tu.
Stay safe on all those tornadoes and blizzards you guys are having out there.
Right.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.